welcome back, everybody, to the Sharpshooter Sports Talk. I am your humble and gracious host, Mr. Brinsky Sharp, on the ones, the twos, threes, fours, fives, and six. Good to have everybody in the house tonight, man. Glad to see everybody coming over here supporting, because we got a big special guest in the house tonight. Our friend and y'all good friend. Y'all already know who's up in here. But first of all, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. And also, if you want to become a member, y'all already know the link is pinned to the top, all that good stuff. But, I got to introduce my guy, Mr. Alabama A&M, Alabama A&M former running back and graduate, our good brother, one of the most underrated people on these YouTube streets, who doesn't like to give himself a lot of credit. Our good friend, our brother, Coach Sean.
Brinsky, what's up with you, bro? How you feeling? How you doing? Much love to everybody in the chat. Susan, the homie Piano Man, everybody, man. Thank you, Brinsky, for that. But I'm just a pleasure to be with you, brother. Pleasure to be with you.
Man. Always, man. Appreciate you. Always, man. And of course, man, ladies and gentlemen, you already know, man, we love the brother. We make sure he gets his flowers all the time. Every show, we let you know our at least my three main guys that I love hearing, and two of them already been on here.
Facts.
That's Clint and Justin. Just got to get Andrew Bone on here one of these days. But one of my guys, happy to have him come back on here from Touchdown, Alabama, everybody. The man, the myth, the legend, and superstar, Justin Smith. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Somebody else on, man. We were there.
Oh no, man. We give flowers here, man. We have no reason to hate on no man. We show love, and you are the man. So the man got to get his love.
Appreciate
we just appreciate you, man.
Facts.
Of course, before we get right into it, let me say what's up to everybody in the chat. Kim, appreciate it for becoming a member. I definitely appreciate that, man. Thank you. My sis Latoya, thank you for the $5 super chat. Said Roll Tide 19 sweet days till we roll. Can't wait for that, sis. Can't wait for it. Appreciate you and all that you do and your love and support for this channel. I appreciate you and everybody else. Anitra, Herb, there's so many of y'all up in here at one time. BT, I think I seen Miss Williams up in here.
Ebony.
We can even ask you, man. This good old Noah Carter's mama, she always supporting like everybody else, man. So definitely she can find out more about her son from you. That's funny. But Piano Man, OG Gill, who else in here? Miss Susan. Appreciate all you guys up here. Mimi, appreciate all y'all, man. We ain't gonna hold up too much time, man. We're gonna get right on into it, man. We just had the fall scrimmage this past Saturday. Hearing great things from a lot of outlets, hearing about the quarterbacks and all that. I think that's a proper way to start it off, man. The quarterbacks, man. What's your thoughts on all three of them?
I think the biggest thing about this whole quarterback battle now is I think DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, basically what they said they were going to do, they did it, in terms of saying like, yo, we finna milk this quarterback competition and put pressure on whoever going to win it. They going to feel like, yo, I didn't know I was going to win it until like almost a very, which it looks like it's going to be Ty Simpson. But I think once he officially gets that nod and say like, yo, at least you're going to be starting quarterback in Florida State, I think he's going to feel relieved, just based on all the different things that have been happening. I'm pretty sure probably several months ago, he heard those footsteps of Keelan Russell, kind of like what he was supposed to be. And also he probably heard Russell talking about how confident he was heading into Tuscaloosa, saying like, yo, I'm planning on competing for that starting spot. And I'm pretty sure he saw some of the strides that Austin Mack was taking. So at least right now, it looks as if Ty Simpson is going to be the guy. And I think that last scrimmage, just based on what we're hearing and based on what I've heard as well, it seemed like it was a great step forward for Ty. A little bit more different than I feel like the spring ones were, because the spring one was a little bit more telling, because you kind of wanted to get like a feel of, does Keelan Russell really have a legit chance? Does
Mhm.
have a legit chance? We kind of like needed them to show flashes during the spring, and I felt like for them to be in a better position where now we're talking about saying like, Austin Mack or Keelan Russell could be out on the next quarterback. I felt like they needed to be a little bit closer to top in the spring, because they both of them were going to make this big jump in the summer. That was
Yeah.
inevitable. Specifically Russell, you knew Mack probably was going to take another big jump as well. If they were a little bit closer in the spring and then they took that big jump during the summer, I think probably we'll be having a little bit more to talk about in terms of this quarterback competition. But right now, like I said, it looks as if it's still Simpsons. And I think just when the practices that we've been able to observe, the media, he looks confident, man. Just the way you looking at him, looks like, he looks like he is QB1, just based on the way that he's been able, just at least the feeling, and just I guess like more of a feel that I'm getting from him, just the way he moves, the way he's walking around. It's not really so much when you saw him like when he was a backup, like, on the backup, I'm not really going through the motions of practice, but like you going through practice like a backup typically
Yeah.
go through practice. But when you saw him, at least at this point, in my opinion, watching him go through those drills that the media is able to see, although they are limited drills, seem like he really put an emphasis on like, let me make sure the drill looks good. Let me make sure I do like the smaller things in these drills, like going through my progressions, act like I'm going through my progression, even if it's just a simple me throwing the football to one wide receiver, practicing on basically feeling I'm in a pocket, showing pocket presence. So it's like drills. It was kind of like some of the things that really stood out to me about Ty. So right now, it looks like kind of like what everybody's going with right now. But it's just kind of the general consensus feel of that quarterback competition is that, it's Ty. It's Ty's job. It's really just a matter of time before Alabama announces it at some point, probably on next week.
Hey, yeah, I couldn't say it best. Go Sean, man. Go, man. Fire off, man. Whatever you got for him, man.
Mine is a two-part question, Justin. The first one is, did you get a good look at Caden? I wanted to specifically know about Caden and how did he look?
Caden Jones.
Caden Proctor.
Caden Proctor, yeah, my bad. I get that.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh, yeah. We got a couple of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Proctor. Yeah, for sure. He looked it good. I got one good look at him. I think it was the last media availability, because he was like literally right in front of us. He looks really good, man. He looks more so, and I think that's something else to point out too. I think some people posted it on Twitter that, hey, I think it looked as if he gained weight or he was like around the same weight. But according to what we were told, according to like some of the things that we're hearing, he did lose a lot of fat. No, it wasn't the weight that he has on him is not all
right.
Just like fat. It's muscle. So muscle that comes up on the scale too. So I think he's in a great place physically. And he looked really good when we got an opportunity to see him on that last day, when we got an opportunity to get a really good look at the tackles. It was like right in front of us. So he looks ready to go based on what I'm seeing. And I think that's something that really is been like a highlight of this entire fall camp. It's how many guys who are coming back from injury look really good. Like a Lawson, like a Justin Jefferson. And there's so many guys there. On the first day of practice, there were no black jerseys. The only black jersey came up when Isaiah Brooks got hurt. Then that was the only black jersey. I thought maybe a Lawson would wear a black jersey early on. Maybe, like I said, a Proctor maybe would wear a black jersey early on, but that's kind of like haven't been the case for a lot of these veterans that kind of like missed the spring. Damani Jackson, he's in full go. So I think just point out the fact, which I think is one of the biggest strengths of Alabama's team heading into the season, is that depth and that health. They look really good from a health standpoint and from a depth standpoint. So I think Caden fits right into that mold. He looks good from what we were able to see.
I was able to walk by that kid, man, at 8A, and man, the camera don't do no justice to that kid. That kid, and the thing about that I noticed about him, man, he reminds me of that tackle for the Eagles, Mailata.
Yeah,
Caden is solid.
Solid.
Yeah, just a big. He's not sloppy. Big, well put together kid, man. And I want to know about the edge rushers, man. Preferably Noah, number 24, Noah Carter, and the rest of those edge rushers, man. What did you see from those guys? Did they play well? Did they handle the run well? And how did they look rushing the passer?
I think those guys. That's an interesting room. First off, I think Carter is coming along really well. I think he has a chance to be in that rotation, because I think that's something that's really important about that position is that, which is kind of like really probably my biggest takeaway from Kane Wommack's defense last season is just how many people were substituted in
Facts.
and out, no matter the position. Because
Mhm.
there were times, if people paid attention, there were times where Justin Jefferson, Jahad Campbell, and Deontay Lawson were on the field at the same time. There were
Right.
times where Yunze and another Wolf were on the field at the same time. So there's so many opportunities for those guys to get on the field in different sets and that Kane Wommack defense. And I think that's kind of like where a guy like Noah Carter could fit into it, possibly get some snaps. But he's a guy who looks long and explosive and athletic, kind of like what we expect him to be when he got
Facts.
to Tuscaloosa. But looking at him and continue to see his maturity, of course, I think he's going to continue to work in the weight room. He's going to continue to add on muscle and continue to get better in that space. But he looks really good based on what we're able to see right now. But I think probably his biggest hindrance is kind of like probably the two guys probably more so in front of him. Definitely Quay Russaw. He's going to be
Hearing great things.
yeah, what
Yeah,
that
if Quay have a good season, this may be Quay last season, man. You know,
Yep.
and it's crazy. It seemed like yesterday the kid was just committing to Bama. Now he already a junior.
he's ridiculous. He's
crazy.
crazy. He's a freak of nature. Like, if I think that's what they call him, like a freak of nature. When
Yeah.
I first saw him, when you saw him in high school, he looks, which is kind of crazy. He looks no different from high school. That's just shows you how crazy he looked in high school.
Right.
He doesn't look as much different, but he still looks like a freak among college athletes. But he looked about the same when he was at Carver High School. I can make an argument that he's probably smaller now in terms
Yeah.
of just like dropping some fat and gaining muscle. Just looking a lot more sculpted out in terms of how he looks now, but he looks ridiculous. I remember the game that I saw, I knew he was like a difference maker. Was he track like he went to Ohio State, but he was set to come to Alabama. Anthony Rogers, the explosive running back, I saw him hawk Rogers down from the back, and I was like, "There's no way." There's no way you was able to hawk that guy down from the back, and you're this big linebacker. That's when I knew, like, yo, Quay Russaw is ridiculous. He's a ridiculous type of linebacker. So yeah, I think this whole fall count, I think those guys have looked solid. More so, Quay Russaw rushing the passer. I feel like that's something that he has prioritized in terms of like, yo, I want to be able to rush the passer a little bit better at the collegiate level. So I think he looks better in that particular space. Yunze Pierre too. I think Yunze Pierre has taken a big jump. I feel like we haven't heard people talk a lot about Pierre, but he has been progressing pretty well. He's explosive. That's what made him so great. And you follow high school. When I saw him play, I had to take a step back. I was like, yo, is this kid in the backfield for the play start? Like, how in the heck is he in the backfield?
Facts.
So quick. I was blown away. I was like, yo, this is the quickest get off I've ever seen. What Yunze Pierre was able to do. Of course, he's a little bit smaller so maybe he doesn't have that same pop, but he still is explosive. So he's come along really well. I think he's an opportunity to get after the passer. At least I think Noah Carter is gonna have a chance to push. The guy I'm most interested in to see like how he fits into this room is Justin Hill. It's like, how does the freshman come in and can he make an immediate impact? I think the evaluation of him will more so lean on how many snaps he gets during the season, and we kind of get like, that's how he has progressed, or this is kind of like where he's at, because I do see a world where you can go 3 deep at that wolf position. Like last year, Hugh Robinson, Quay Russaw, Yunze Pierre played quite a bit. So it is a chance that room could go 3 deep. So based on what we've been able to see, I think they're doing really good as far as this fall camp is concerned.
Big shout out to Ebony, man. Ebony's in the chat. Ebony Carter boys say, Mom, that's Noah's mom, man. Me and Ebony go back, man. That's my partner. She always support her son. She always support Bama, man. It's a long travel. It's a long travel to come all the way from AZ, man.
Yeah, for sure. I think he has a great opportunity, which I think he's in the great room, and that Wolf linebacker room is a great room to be in if you want to be that type of edge rusher in today's game of college football, because you can do so much. I remember I interviewed Xavier Griffin, and he was just talking about like, yo, how much he loved the position because you can do so much. You can drop back in coverage. You can get after the quarterback at times. You can do so much from that particular position. So I think he's blessed to be in that position, playing in that role, because I think it adds so much versatility to you if you are that specific type of person. And so I think he's in a great room. I think he's in a great opportunity.
Thanks.
Yeah, man. One of the so just hearing you say that, man, that probably can be one of the most talented rooms on the whole team.
Facts.
But
I think it can be. I think it's a sleeper for that because a lot of times you're going to hear a defensive back. That's kind of like what everybody wants
And
to talk
that's
about now because they're deep. They have a chance to be really deep, and they got a lot of experience in that room. Same thing with linebacker. Same thing. I'll probably say a lot. The defensive interior defensive line probably put that bandit in it. They're kind of like a mix of experience and some guys that want to make a name for themselves. So I feel like at least linebacker and defensive back probably get a little bit more attention than that Wolf position. But like you said, it has an opportunity to be like a sleeper position. We could be looking at mid-season being like, yo, Yunze, Quay, Noah, and whoever else is in that mix, they're making noise from that Wolf position.
Because I think Pat last year, man, pass rush was an issue. We kept getting in the backfield, but they just didn't get the sack. And sometimes you don't have to get the sack as long as you affect the quarterback. I'd like to see a couple of people with more than 3 sacks. You know what I'm saying? So I really believe with Justin, with Noah, with all these kids coming off the edge, especially in the next year or two, because Quay may possibly be leaving. I know we'll lose Jamarian Latham. I know we'll possibly lose LT Overton, who play, Bandit and all these other different things. These kids are gonna be called upon. They're gonna be called upon, man. So it's really, really, really refreshing to know we got all this talent that's gonna go get the quarterback.
Yeah, and I think Latham was a guy who I didn't talk about actually in that room. But I think he's gonna be a guy, although he's just playing Wolf right now, like at practice. I see a world where like we just gonna see him everywhere once the snaps actually get things start flying around. He's not just gonna be strictly at that Wolf in my position, in my opinion. I think you're gonna see him everywhere where he got experience at because he's just a nice guy to have in terms of that experience. I think I might be hard pressed to say this, and I'm actually part of the media. I don't think no one has written about Latham this entire fall camp by shining a spotlight on him, which is quite interesting. But I do think he's an interesting piece of this defense because of that experience he brings to the table. And I don't think he just strictly stays at that Wolf position once the live bullets start firing.
Right.
I know one position, man, and it's really one particular player because I know we all thought we was going at least for me, I thought we was gonna get Peter Woods back and we're gonna have him line up next to this other beast that we have on the team, James Smith. And everything that I'm hearing from basically you guys and Clint from January to July, that he is just taking that step. Like he is ready for this season to like really, really explode. And I seen that you was reporting that, and you asked him like, what was the difference from freshman year to now? And he said attitude and mindset. Attitude and mindset. What did you take away from that? Because I took some things away from it, but I want to know how you took it away.
I wanted to make sure that I asked him that because when I came up on him, he was actually talking to another reporter. I was just hearing him talking to the other reporter. But this is a guy I covered in high school. First thing I told him, like, yo, man, you talk totally different. It's like a different vibe from you right now from when you was in high school. Like it's amazing to see. I always felt like of course like somebody who's just proud to see what he's just grown into. And I was like, yo, you have taken like this big step. That's kind of like why I asked that question. And I know he smiled and everything and that answer. And I just like I just saw that from based on me seeing what he was at Carver, because this kind of like it's crazy that you brought up Peter Woods. That's kind of like what I thought the difference was between Peter Woods and James Smith. When they signed, I said, yo, Peter's going to be able to play right away. James is not going to be able to play right away. It's based on that mindset. It's based on, I don't think James is going to be ready to play maturity-wise right off the bat. Peter Woods is going to be ready to play off the bat. He's going to play. It's just kind of like how it is. He played at Thompson as part of it. He's in a good system. He knows how to play within that system. He's going to do everything the player is designed to do. I love James. He's explosive. He's physical. He's strong. I love what he brings to the table. I always talked about this when criticizing Alabama's defensive front in the past, because I've always said Alabama's defensive front has not lived up to the glory days, obviously, of Nick Saban. What that defensive front was. That defensive front was just some nasty, aggressive guys. And in my opinion, like not to call any names, Alabama signed some guys, and I was like, he ain't gonna fit that. He ain't gonna be that. He's too nice of a kid. He's not gonna be that nasty guy you need in that middle. I saw James. I was like, yo, he's nasty. You go if Alabama wants to get back to where they were in the past along the defensive line, they need a guy like James Smith. So getting him was instrumental, I think, in terms of them possibly making a turnaround when it comes to the defensive front. But yeah, he's taking this huge step forward, just like, and I think it's more so off the field, knowing that, hey, if I want to be a professional and go on to the NFL and live up to my full potential, I got to be a professional at every turn. I can't be a professional halfway, a professional, and then just turn it on when it's time to play a game. No, I have to be a professional at all times. I got to train like a professional. I got to do everything off of the field like a professional. And that's kind of like everything that we've been hearing from Alabama staff as well, in terms of like, yo, it really, every time we talk to them about James, it's like, yo, stuff he's doing off the field, like his maturity, that's different. And when I asked him that question, I didn't put this on video, but after I left him, I went immediately to Quay Russaw. I was like, who knows is better than Russaw in terms of like growth, and kind of like what he said, like, yo, he is someone, he when I asked him, he immediately went off the field saying like, yo, he's grown, saying he's somebody that's not only ready to take the next step on the football field, but he's ready to take the next step in his life. So that kind of like, to me, that spoke volumes, saying like, yo, he must really has grown up, not just as a, basically is into his like transformation of growing into just not only a football player, but growing from a boy into a man, basically kind of like what I'm hearing. So I think it's much deeper for James, but I think the biggest thing is what Alabama fans are going to see, kind of like that maturity on the field, kind of like what you always wanted, kind of like that, what you always expected him to be, this explosive, physical, strong defensive lineman, quick feet, great in the open field. The guy who just be dominant. He has a chance to be absolutely dominant. If he really lives up to his potential. Just based on everything that I've been hearing and talking to him, I feel confident that he has an opportunity to do some major damage this season.
Yeah, I love that, man. So listen, I got to ask you this, Justin. This is what I want to know probably more than anything. When you watch that offense, and I know it's just a scrimmage, but you can tell what Grubb like to do. Were they throwing intermediate routes, a lot of shallow stuff? Did they go deep a lot? Running backs catching the balls, wide receiver screens, or what did you see that looked anything different than last year?
No, we didn't technically see the scrimmage, but yeah, we've got a lot of like stuff from it, of course. But I think the biggest thing is I think they're gonna do whatever Ty Simpson feels comfortable with. Just based on what we are hearing and based on kind of like stuff that we've been getting back from everybody, and I think they won't. And it's kind of like we're probably gonna talk about this. They want a run game for sure, because that's just part of like what made that Washington offense so good. And actually, I didn't think about it until like I started studying them a little bit. Before even Kalen DeBoer got here, I started looking at Washington just as a college football playoff team, and I saw that this offense has so many different weapons. Like this, they got a 1,000-yard receiver, a 1,000-yard receiver here, a 400-yard receiver. Jeremy Bernard is another 400-yard receiver. Hey, they got a 1,000-yard back. They got this is a crazy type of offense statistically. So I think that's kind of like where at least what Ryan Grubb definitely wants to do, based on what the intel that we're getting, what he says at the press conference, his history. He wants to have a rushing attack. He wants this team to have an attack that they can lean on when they need it, but also they want to be balanced. But also, I think the biggest thing that I'm looking forward to, and kind of like what I expect to happen, is that they run a lot of routes. And I've heard this from a lot of Washington wide receivers too. You run a lot of routes that get other people open. And I think that's something that's going to, that at least I expect us to see. Now, they haven't really talked about it that much during the fall. It's kind of like got mixed up and like haven't really been highlighted. But during the spring, they kind of like whispered at it and said it, but I don't think no one really caught up on it. So I think Ryan or Jeremy or some of the wide receivers said like, yo, I got to run my route hard because this route opens this guy. I got to run my route hard because I'm helping my other wide receivers if I run it hard. So that's kind of like one thing I would see from a passing concept. We're going to probably see, at least based on the expectations and kind of like what we're hearing, we're going to say like, hey, whoever calling the game, they'll say, yo, let's look back at this. Yo, he ran this route, but this opened up this. He ran this, opened up this. So I kind of like expect to see that for sure. But like I said, I also expect to see a balanced attack. But who comes out of the backfield? That's kind of like the question mark right now behind Miller. I'd say that's kind of like probably one of the more intriguing questions. The biggest takeaways I think we've gotten from fall camp, because I think after the season, everybody kind of like just felt like, yo, it's Jalen Miller and Richard Young next year, and everybody's just gonna fit in where they fit in, but it doesn't seem to be that way.
Say Daniel Hill was snapping. Say he was doing his thing, man. We need a big back too, man. We really hadn't had a really, really physical back really since B-Rob left, really and truly. To me, I mean, really a physical. No disrespect to Jace, who was a great back, and Roy Dale, and even last year, even with Jameer and all those guys, speed guy, we really hadn't had that physical guy, man, that's just gonna move the crowd in quite some time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's kind of like the difference with Hill. I think he's so different, which is kind of like why I highlighted him I think a couple of days ago because his skill set is so very unique because he's built like a power back. He's supposed to be physical power back. That's what he's supposed to be, but he
Right.
is so athletic. Just you don't expect him to be that athletic. I remember I saw him in person, of course, but before I saw him, he was at 7-on-7s like catching jump balls. And I was like, yo,
Wow.
he shouldn't be catching no jump ball that big. Like what? He's just how athletic he is. Then if you can remember, he ran the hurdles. He did a 300-meter hurdles
did he?
in high school, and which is
Wow, that's crazy. At that size, yeah,
insane. So that speaks more so to his athleticism as well. And then I go and see him play. He's doing it in pass. He's going up and catching the football out of the air. And I'm not kidding when I say this. And it's crazy that he gets his I guess his status from me. He's the most sure-handed catching running back I've ever evaluated. I've never seen a running back catch the football out of the backfield better than Daniel Hill, which is crazy for what we expect him to be. We expect him to be this power running back. And that's kind of like where I think a lot of reporters probably didn't catch up on it, but every time if you go back and look at it, every time an Alabama coach talk about Daniel Hill, it's exceptional hands, good out of the backfield. It's every time you hear him talking, they always sneak that in. And I saw it in person. I was like, everything that came his way, he caught. And he's built really interesting too because he's 6'1", 240, but he has long. First, like some people just have a different like wingspan. He has long wingspan for some odd reason. I'm not sure why his arms are long with that type
built
of like,
that way.
Well, he built, but it's kind of like where he is. So he has that kind of an odd type of build because his arms are so long, which I'm pretty sure aids in his ability to pull in reception. So I think he has an opportunity to be really unique in that space. Of course, he don't got great speed. He's not gonna pull away and hit his head out of goalposts a lot. That's just not gonna happen. Daniel Hill, but he's gonna be a guy I think he has an opportunity to make some plays. And I just think it's interesting that Alabama's coaches don't even just feel confident to say like, hey, Richard Young is our next guy. It's literally Jam Miller is the guy, and it's literally this comfort the board said it's Jam Miller and everybody else. It's kind of like the way that they've kind of like referred to that running back room. So that's kind of like one of the more intriguing takeaways from this fall camp, because I came into at least probably not so much during the spring because they talked about how Daniel Hill took this massive step, and they talked about how Jerry Washington came in. But after the football season, I was for sure like gonna write a check and say, yo, it's gonna be Jam Miller and Richard Young. They're gonna be a dynamic duo. But right now it seems like people are giving Young a challenge as that running back too.
Right. Hey man, but I love the competition that's in the room. When you hear stuff like that, I can live with that. But before we go on, I just want to shout out our good brother Rob. Appreciate it, man. Patriot Life.
The broski.
Thank you for all your support, man. Appreciate you joining the channel, man. Thank you for always supporting the channel. And also, ladies and gentlemen, another guest coming in here to talk to Justin, one of the most knowledgeable brothers on these Alabama streets. Our good friend from the Bama Standard, Jonathan Lewis. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, fellas?
What's up, John?
Not much, man.
Meet you, Justin, man. I'll be following you and reading your work all the time, brother.
Thank you so much, Sean. Thank you so much for the support.
Oh yeah, man. He tried to be modest, man, but we ain't about to let that happen, man. He need to hear these things, man.
Yes, he do. Yes, he do.
I'm about to say, John, since you jumping in here, man, go ahead and ask whatever you want to ask.
Well, I posted it in the chat already, and Roll Tide, everybody, Roll Tide Piano Man, Latoya. I've already got so many in here when I was commenting. But Justin, what I want to get your take on was, have you read anything on Israel Abrams, the quarterback for 2027, and your thoughts on him at all?
I don't think I've looked too much into him. I actually got this one thing that's kind of like a different feel for us at Touchdown Alabama is that what you guys kind of like see. I'm not that deep into the recruiting world as I once was, which is gonna happen for sure eventually. It's just part of the ebbs and flow of what we're doing. But a guy who a lot of Alabama fans, matter of fact, they don't know this. This kind of like kind of like I guess an exclusive for you guys a little bit.
Okay.
It's another 2027 quarterback to watch out for. And this comes from one of our guys who work with us, Larry Rudolph. He works with us very closely, touchdown on the recruiting side. But Phillip Rivers' son, of course, Gunnar Rivers, the 4-star
Yeah.
quarterback, is a guy who's looking at Alabama right now. He's
Oh.
considering Alabama, North Carolina State. It's some 2 other schools. Let me get those other schools on for you as well, because that is a quarterback who no one talks about because he doesn't talk to media. A
Yeah.
lot. He doesn't talk a lot about media really at all in terms of his recruitment. But right now he's a guy, at least at this point, and we're gonna have more in this story to touch Alabama. He's considering Texas, Alabama, Auburn, North Carolina State as schools that are at least standing out right now. And that's a guy who's a 2027 4-star quarterback, son of Phillip Rivers. And I saw him recently, and whoa, this guy's huge.
Look at his dad.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, yo, I wasn't prepared for you to shake my hand like that. Like, he was one of those guys that really, like, yo, he was a handshake, but he's really impressive. And he's a guy who doesn't, I wouldn't be surprised. His recruitment is kind of very similar to Arch Manning. You're not going to see a lot about it. They're going to keep it very under wraps, basically let him focus on high school football. But that is something that I wanted to push along to you guys. So yeah, that's kind of, I think the quarterback position is really interesting for Alabama in 2027 because you probably have that opportunity to get another transcendent guy, because that just wasn't going to happen during this particular 2026 class, because you got Keelan Russell. It's just not happening. It's just part of recruiting. You're not going to get a transcendent type of quarterback. But then when you flip the table to this 2027 position, there's so many opportunities, because you have a guy like Elijah Haven, which probably is going to cost a lot, if technically from NIL. Not really saying, like, because I really don't know too much about the kid, but like, it's just the fact that if you are this 5-star quarterback and you are showing what you are showing, you deserve the money that comes with that position in this NIL era. Will Alabama be willing to pay that, or really that's all upon Alabama and like how they look at it, and it's just up to them on how they particularly approach it. Trent Seaborn, Thompson quarterback, he's really interesting. I really like that guy. That guy he's a really special quarterback. He's really consistent. He's a proven winner. I don't think he's ever looked bad whenever I've seen him. Working with Mark Freeman, in my opinion, I think Mark Freeman should not be coaching high school football. He should be He should be an offensive coordinator at a college somewhere. He's the most explosive high school offensive coordinator, offensive mind that I've seen, and where his offense looks. I'm like, whoa, man, it feels like they can score in like 3 plays. If you ever get an opportunity to watch Thompson play 7-on-7, if you just see him playing close to you, I think it's just worth watching, because I don't think a lot of people get an opportunity to see that. When I say they score on 3 plays, they score on 3 plays. They score 1, 2, 3 in the end zone. That's how effective that offense is. We give Trent, I feel like, this great opportunity to be a great quarterback. So yeah, so that's kind of like where I feel like that quarterback position is really, really interesting for so many different ways. It wouldn't surprise me if a quarterback really wants to just go ahead and get on Alabama, if they really want a quarterback, because he knows that Alabama's gonna have their pick of the litter once it probably gets that time, because now you got a gap between Keelan and you, but you also got 2 quarterbacks committed in the 2026 class. So it's really the quarterback position from a recruiting standpoint intriguing, and it's just so many interesting ways you can go with it.
So I got a question for all the panel then, if you don't mind me, Brinsky.
Go ahead.
As far as this goes, so so I've followed recruiting for a while, but I haven't been in deep into it, and I'd say for the past 2 to 3 years, right? One trend that I'm noticing is it seems like a lot more of these recruits year after year after year are getting more involved in these camps, attending every camp they can possibly do. Because the guy just brought up Israel, right? So Abrams, it seems like he's climbing the ladder, and it wasn't until he went to the Iowa State camp, and then he got invited into to the Tennessee camp, and it just kind of transcended from there as far as his status goes. Is this something that's always been going on, or is this maybe the past 4 to 5 years? I mean, I don't know if you guys knew anything about this.
Well, more so, I would say that which you talking about, more so like school camps, like
Like we'll do. I mean, we could do really any camp, right? So we already know about, like, the Manning Academy, all that stuff that goes on. But it seems like the actual school camps is starting to get a little more notoriety than before, as far as getting more attention. And I think that has a lot to do with, obviously, social media, and everything's put out there for everybody to see. So scouting is done a little bit less, or evaluating. You don't have to travel to every game, every camp to see these guys. But yeah, pretty much from that perspective.
Yeah, that's pretty much it right there. You kind of hit the nail on the head right there. Everybody is watching social media. Heck, I didn't know this, and it's kind of like probably why I saw this trend a little bit earlier. Of course I came in covering Alabama recruiting, and that's kind of like what I covered. But I started to see a trend. Probably I got into it probably 2 years where not only Alabama coaches are following me, LSU, Georgia, USC, all these other different coaches across the country, because social media is recruiting. So whenever you see a guy get up, and that's what they do. To be honest, it's kind of a weird, kind of like, it's like a peek behind the curtain, but that's kind of like what coaches do. And we see it. It's kind of like obvious. They see a guy got an offer from so and so. I've seen situations where they call somebody and be like, "Yo, who offered him? We gonna offer him. If Tennessee offer him, we gonna offer him. Oh, ain't nobody offer him, we ain't gonna offer him." That's just kind of like how it works a lot of times, and it's a lot of it's a little behind the scenes. It's more so not even based on evaluation. Sometimes it's kind of like a based on like booster. Sometimes it's like you don't want to eventually look up and a booster looking at you saying like, "Yo, we got this 5-star down the road. Why y'all ain't offer him yet? Why y'all went on him like 2 or 3 years ago?" So you offer that kid and be like, "Yo, we offered him and we recruiting him. He just ain't like us." At least you got that's kind of like a lot of like, wow, offers is like really interesting. That's why I say like offers, especially those verbal offers.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't carry like any weight at all. Some of them do, some of them don't. Really, the most credible offers are typically the ones that get extended after some type of workout. Those are typically the biggest ones, but those like offers where you like saw a guy highlights, those are kind of iffy at times, because eventually you want to see them at practice and all those.
I know.
Yeah.
I know we had a little breaking news before you answer that. Shout out to the homie J. Cole. He said breaking news. Ty Simpson has officially been named the starter versus Florida State, according to the Tuscaloosa News. So there we go.
That's kind of like
that's like the worst kept secret at this point now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that was like kind of like what we were always kind of thinking, because it just all fit that mold. Like I said earlier, I think for it to have changed and for anybody to have threatened Ty, I think the gap needed to be a little bit smaller in the spring, for those guys to really to make that push in the fall. I saw Keelan at the Under Armour game, and he looked really good. He looked really great thrower of the football. And the biggest threat to me is that the biggest threat to Ty at that time to me, if Russell comes in and he understands the mental side, the playbook, the how to go through his reads, the mental side of being a college football quarterback. He had to go out and show that if he wanted to be the next quarterback. And I kind of like felt like, yo, that was the biggest threat to Ty. And it seemed like Ty was able to hold off those guys. And I think I think Ty is going to be a decent quarterback. I think he has opportunity to be really good in one area that I think a lot of people are kind of like not even thinking about, and that's his mobility. He's a guy who can move around the pocket. Heck, I remember we went back. When we were looking at his high school highlights, we were thinking Johnny Manziel. We was like, yo, he had some Johnny Manziel type of moments in these high school highlights. Given he does play for Richmond High School, there was a 2A high school, I think, in Tennessee, a very small high school. But the way that he was able to throw the ball from these different crazy angles after running around the backfield and just ripping it, I think that he had to reel some of that back in his development. But I kind of want him to, if I'm an Alabama fan, I want him to keep some of that. I hope that there's still some of that there, because there's gonna be times where like I need you to make a play. The pocket's gonna break. I need you to make something special happen. So that's kind of like the thing that I'm probably most intrigued about Ty is, can he make those exciting plays that he made in high school at this level? Probably not as crazy, because he did do some stuff that you just can't do at the collegiate level. But I still want him to have a little bit of that in his game, and that's kind of like one of the things that I expect him to still have. Just be in general a little bit more mobile than I think a lot of people are probably going to think about. Not going to be a Jalen Miro. That's impossible, but he's going to be more mobile probably than people expect.
I know. Coach Sean, you about to say something?
Yeah, I'm just going to it's good, brother. Good. DSGB was asking about Zabian Brown, and I told him from everything that I've been told, Zabian is balling out, balling out, getting very comfortable in the defense. Said the whole secondary balling out. And to Justin, what's crazy, Justin, is, man, when you really think about the situation we in right now with Ty, with Keelan, it's very, very similar to when Bryce was coming in with Mac Jones. Mac Jones had waited around for a couple of years through some quarterbacks, had been in the program for years. Highly touted freshman Bryce Young is coming, 5-star, do everything quarterback coming in, and everybody thought the young kid was going to start. But I tell people this all the time, man. It is rare when you see, no matter how talented you are as a freshman, brother, it is different playing college football. You know what I'm saying? It is very, very, very. I mean, I know it happens. It happens from time to time, but I promise you, shout out to you too, 5-star long snapper. It is very few and far between that you see true, straight from high school freshmen walk into the SEC and start, unless it's some depth issues, right? I'm just talking about strictly talent. We all know it happens. The kid at Florida, he played several games, right? But it is hard to step into the SEC playing college football, especially at that position. And I want you to expound on that. Very similar to Bryce and Mac, and Mac came and had been in the program for years, and we all see what Mac did.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing, like you said, the biggest thing is probably the mental side of it. The way I always evaluate quarterbacks is pretty simple. If you're a high school quarterback and you want to be a collegiate quarterback, you got to make all of the throws. And that's basically it. You got to be able to make every single throw that I can think of, whether it's the out route, the hitch route, the deep route, all of the routes in the route tree, you got to be able to hit them. That's kind of like the borderline of you being a collegiate quarterback. But what makes you this great elite quarterback is, can you do it in all these different situations? Can you mentally, can you do it when the pocket is breaking down? Can you do it when you need to step up in the pocket? Can you do it when your receiver's timing is a bit off? Where you need to put where you need to put the football if his timing is off? He's not where you need him to be. And all those different things, along with, like you said, learning the playbook, that whole mental side of it, and that gets so hectic. And the thing about also, and this goes for every freshman quarterback. When I was talking about him in the spring, you got to think about in the spring, Russell was playing for Duncanville probably 2 or 3 months ago. So he's going from a Duncanville practice to an Alabama practice in 3 months, and then he gets into this practice. When he goes home, it's not the same. He's got a whole different environment. This is not his house. This is not his home that he's possibly grew up in. He's going back to the dorm room. He's going back and he's looking around. I'm in an Alabama facility. Everything is different. Like, Tuscaloosa is different. Like, of course, I visited here, but it's different from actually being here. Like, where the closest Chick-fil-A is? Where is it? It's all those things that are going on in your mind, on top of just, like you said, the mental thing. So that's kind of like what I said is, like you said, that's why it's so difficult to start at quarterback, because you have all of this stuff flowing on in your mind, and also not really not really to shine a light on kind of like the tragic situation that he found himself in. He's already got all this stuff going on. It's gonna be so difficult for him to play as a starting quarterback. So yeah, like you said, it's mentally so much that you got to think about.
Facts.
I know my favorite, because I know I really want to ask you this about the scrimmage, the secondary.
Yeah,
good old secondary. Love the secondary. One of my favorite recruits out the whole class. I think he's going to be the next superstar. I have high expectations for him. I think he's going to be a future Jim Thorpe Award winner, Dejon Lee. I think he's one of those ones, man. I'm setting the bar up there that high. I just really want to see these kids succeed, man, because I believe he is one of those ones. He can run, he can tackle, he can cover. He does it all, and he's just a freshman. And you can hear Kane Woe, man, every time he talk about him, man. He just like in awe of this kid. What were your thoughts of him in the secondary?
Yeah, I think he's special. First off, it's kind of like what you said, Sean. Is that like I think Cameron's probably not doing it as much. Probably service in terms of like how big he is. He's so long and so big in terms of just being that cornerback. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy to be that big and play cornerback. So I think the biggest thing with him is kind of like how he fits into it, more so than probably his skill set, because you got the money and Xavier in front of you. Xavier is so good because he probably like I think I told you guys this last time. I think if your son is playing cornerback and you want to see great cornerback high school film, turn on Xavier's film. This is how you
Yeah.
play cornerback, son. You want to be a cornerback? This is what you do. This is how you look. This is how you're supposed to look technically sound. He's technically probably one of the best cornerbacks I've evaluated. Confidence, jump off the screen, in the hip pocket of the wide receiver. Turn his head, knowing when to turn his head. I think that's something that he just wouldn't do early on at Alabama. But I think it's just confidence, because I always say to be a cornerback, you got to be out of your mind. You got to be so confident, crazy like confident. Like you got to be like, hey, this guy ain't gonna beat me no matter who he is. Yo, you ain't gonna beat me. I got this. You got to be crazy out of your mind to play cornerback every single snap. And I think Xavier has that type of confidence. You can see it when you hear it when he talks to you. So I think that's kind of like probably Dijon's biggest problem is that he got those guys in front of him, Xavier and the money, and you got a Cam Calhoun at least has experience. You got Red Morgan who moved into that room, which was really interesting. That he's in there. So you got kind of like a lot of guys with experience in front of you. But he's continued to look really good, continue to make plays, because it's probably his biggest strength, his playmaking ability as a defensive back. His ability to attack the football is probably his biggest strength as a cornerback. Probably is a little less technically sound than a Xavier was coming into high school, but probably is a better playmaker because he's a bigger cornerback and probably can defend a bigger wide receiver. So I think the defensive backs are playing with a lot of confidence. I probably think that's the biggest thing, playing with a lot of confidence and continuity and familiarity with one another. Because I feel like that's kind of like the description of this entire Alabama team is that even like from a standpoint, you going into practice saying like, yo, this team don't feel that much different from last year in a good way in terms of like, yo, they've grown now. These are not new people that we're seeing. For example, the wide receiver room, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. Going into last season, Kobe Prince was the most experienced Alabama wide receiver. Ryan Williams hadn't played yet. Jalen Hale, he got hurt, so he wasn't going to be available. And a lot of like Emmanuel Henderson hadn't played much. Kendrick Law hadn't played much. Kobe Prince was your most experienced receiver heading into last season, which kind of like really paints the picture that heading into this season, it's so much more continuity on his roster. And I think that shines in that defensive back room. I think that's kind of like the biggest thing that we've seen. You just see a lot of familiarity, just continuity in the room. And probably one of the biggest like things that I've noticed too is when you're watching the cornerbacks go through drills, Money Jackson doesn't lead them. He's in the back. Xavier Brown is in the front. Then it's Dijon Lee. Then it's like Cam Calhoun. It's a mix of different guys. And I think this points to the fact that, yo, there's really not no big hierarchy in this room where it's like one guy, like you are a leader. No, it's confidence, I think, just throughout that room.
Let me ask you a question about Dijon Lee, Brinsky's favorite player. You know, man, I rarely have seen, outside of maybe Antonio Cromartie, seen him in person. I don't know if I've seen corners that tall, man. Justin, when you see this kid, I know his IQ got to be off the chain. His ball skills got to be off the chain. How does he transition from the back pedal to turning and running? Is he stiff in the hips? You know, because, you know, that means you're going to go to safety at some point, ask Eddie Jackson. When you see this kid change direction, when you see him backpedaling, coming out of his break to out of his back pedal, out of phase, as we call it, to take off running, is he stiff? How does a kid that tall transition?
Yeah, that's kind of like he's as smooth as you expect him to be at that tall. But the thing is, like probably what most Alabama fans won't say is that he is tall. So that like you said, it does come with that hindrance. It isn't quite as smooth as a smaller guy because it's just not going to be because he's too big. But that's probably his biggest challenge, I feel. And that's kind of like why I say he's not as smooth and as technically sound as Xavier. He kind of makes up for it with his ball making skills and his IQ. That's kind of like what shines the most, which is kind of like what you said. It could be a particular situation where we kind of like see that. And I think that more so goes back into like, how does this guy grow technically and continue to improve? Because like that's kind of like something we saw in the at the Under Armour camp too, watching him go through drills. He looks really good, like in terms of being that tall, but it is a hindrance. Being that tall to change direction. That's just physics and just like nature. So it's more so how he develops in terms of like where exactly he could fit, continue to fit. But I think he has the potential to be a really good cornerback. And he's almost like, I would say he's right at that cutoff though. Like he's right at that cutoff. Like if he was an inch taller, no, he could probably play cornerback. But he's like, I feel like he's just right at that perfect height for it.
Cool. I'm about to say, John, go on, jump in there.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way as far as all that stuff goes, man. I feel like I just talked the other day. I feel like Damani Jackson doesn't get enough love at the end of the day, too. Like, he did such a great job last year. And I get it. All the fans want to talk about the, bright and shiny new 5 stars. Dijon Lee, right? Everybody's obviously pounding the desk for Keelan Russell and stuff like that, forgetting that Ty Simpson was that 5-star. I get it. Just like you said, Justin, to a school coming out of Martin, Tennessee, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, he was rated a 5-star. He has the tools to be that dude at the end of the day. So we just got to be patient. But on the back end, man, I mean, we're not even talking about like Ivan Taylor and those guys coming in. Well, are you there? Right. So, and the possibilities moving forward of how the length of this 4.25 is going to look in the future. Because one thing I talked about the other day is like, the 4.25, it's a brand new system that was implemented last year. We all know that. And a lot of these guys weren't even recruited for that system. So I'm excited to see what this year is going to bleed into next year as well. And what it's going to look like moving forward, in all honesty, because the potential is through the roof. Even with the guys we got there, they released the awards list today. I forgot which one it was, but Deontay Lawson, I know, was on one. LT Overton was on one. I mean, the list goes on, and the potential is there. So, I mean, and I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, it feels a lot like Ohio State, you know what I mean, the previous season. They brought back a lot of guys with a lot of experience, and they kind of just filled in with those pieces. I'm not saying we're going to be as good, but I feel like it has the potential to be there.
Yeah, this, like I said, this secondary has a lot of potential, and it's so talented for so many different reasons. Just gonna talk about these guys more. Like I said, they've been technically sound, insane. The money, physical, really physical, bigger than probably bigger than probably you expect him to be. When we get an opportunity to see him, I like I said, he probably doesn't get talked about a lot because he didn't get a lot of action last year. A lot of people didn't throw his way. Bray Hubbard, and his story is crazy and insane to take someone who, and I'm pretty sure I'm right about this, and I want to ask him because I feel like I haven't really got clearance on this, but I'm almost 100% sure. I don't think he ever played a snap of defensive back at high school.
Right, played quarterback, didn't he?
I didn't know that.
Quarterback. I don't think he has played a single snap of defensive back, and I might be wrong, but there's no footage of Bray Hubbard in high school playing defensive back. I'm pretty sure about that. He played quarterback and was this I think probably back to back 3A Mr. Football in Mississippi because he was just insane as an athlete. So I'm not sure if it was, because I know Pete Golding recruited him. I'm not sure if it was Nick Saban or Pete Golding who found him and discovered him like he was going to be this, but there was insane evaluations to say, hey, this guy who playing quarterback gonna play defensive back. He's gonna be a heck of a defense. He's gonna be one of the best defensive backs in the country in college football. That's insane. But and if you find it, maybe you can find it. But I don't think there's any film of Bray Hubbard playing high school defensive back. And I just think that's so crazy. I kind of compare it to Jalen Mbakwe playing defensive back too, because I saw Jalen Mbakwe a lot in high school. I probably saw him play defensive back probably like 10 plays. He probably plays receiver, quarterback. I in my mind, I'm like, yo, I like Jalen. I feel like that's gonna hinder him because I feel like you got to play the position to get a feel, because it's all just about the feel. Of course, you're not gonna be playing against D1 wide receivers in high school football level, but it's really more so, let me just get a feel for the position, the feel for the back pedal, the feel for sinking my hips, getting out of my back pedal. I just want to get a feel for the position. So he kind of surprised me when he was able to earn some snaps at defensive back, and I was like, yo, that's crazy that you came in ready to play defensive back when you literally have very limited experience at cornerback. So Bray Hubbard, really good ball skills, physical, checks multiple boxes. Keon Sal, ball hawking, type of safety, a little bit more physical. Now that I went back and looked back at him, I didn't realize he would made so many plays that could be considered physical plays from a safety perspective when it comes to Keon Sal. But probably Deshaun Jones, I kind of put him in that mold too. But probably one of the biggest strengths is kind of like that second layer of the defensive back that's a little bit different from last year. Womack talked about this too, saying they played like 6 guys at 5 positions for the first half of the season. I feel like that's going to be a little bit different this year. You got in that second line, you got a Cam Calhoun, you got a Dijon Lee, you got a Red Morgan, you got a Dre Kirkpatrick who seemed to take a good step. We haven't heard about him, but it was supposedly he continued to take some big step as well. And that's a guy like a Cam Howard or Xavier Mincy who continued to progress. So they're probably the biggest strength of that defensive back. Like you said, Jonathan, they kind of like points to the fact that, in the future, this defensive back room has an opportunity this season to just sneak in some plays and just gain some experience here and there. So next year, we're looking at new faces, but these aren't new faces who've never been on the field.
I'll say this, man. The money How you feel about this, Justin? The money, this kid is special, man. He didn't get a chance to show it a lot because a lot of people didn't test him a lot. But when I watch him, even when even when he's out of position, the kid clearly is fast. And I didn't know this until I had to read up on him. I used to wonder, like, how does this kid always catch up? Even when he's out of position, the kid seemed to always make up on the route with foot speed. So I did some research on him, and I was like, this kid got to be fast. And I didn't realize this kid was like the California 100-meter dash champion.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. So, because I knew when he get out of position, when you look downfield, he always catch the receiver, always. So I think this kid should get more love, man. I think this season he will.
Yeah, and I think if I like I said, again, people can fact check me on this, but I think I'm right. I think he held the California state record in the 100-meter dash for a minute.
Wow, man.
I want to say he did, but I want to say he for sure did. But I know he was a guy who can consistently run a sub 11 100 meter dash. I know he was a guy who was definitely, like you said, one of the best track runners when he was there. Yeah, he did held the record at 10.25 in 2021.
10.25.
Yeah, so he's like you said, he's fast for sure. He has that type of speed for sure. Like you said, it goes up on the football field. He's fast. And that's something that doesn't that goes back to the fact that he doesn't look like a sprinter.
Film don't lie, man. Film don't lie.
He does have elite speed, and it's just something you don't talk about, but it's probably gonna be something that people just get blown away by at the combine when he's there. Because like I said, it's not something that like really shows a lot in terms of like, I guess probably because he probably don't catch a lot of interceptions or probably don't do punt returns, so you probably don't see like a lot of his speed. But yeah, he is a guy for sure who has literally a track record of being on fast.
I know before we go on, because I know one of our subscribers want to know this, but I don't know how I missed this. But our good brother BT, man, appreciate you for the $10, man. And said great content, fellas. Coach Sean, Justin, Jonathan, B. Shaw, Roll Damn Tide, man. Appreciate you, man, for sending that. And also, since Justin here, might well play a couple of these.
He's got his own money. And baby, when I tell you he's got his own money, I mean the boy has got his own money.
And of course, just in the spirit of it being football season around the corner, y'all already know.
Bateed, everybody get your roll on. Everybody get your roll on.
Oh man, just gotta shout out y'all, man. Always supporting the channel, man. Definitely appreciate it, man. Definitely appreciate all the love, man. But I know I bleed crimson. He said, can Justin touch on the linebackers? So he really want to know about the linebackers.
Yeah, I think more so probably talking about the inside linebacker.
Yeah, more than likely, pretty much touch the outside.
Yeah, Lawson looks good. I think he's a guy who, like I said, I thought coming in he would be more limited because he's coming off the injury, but he's not as limited. Probably, I think he's going to be just as good as he was last year before the injury. If the injury is progressing, like Alabama's coaching staff is saying, in terms of him being able to play smart linebacker, I think that's probably the thing that stands out the most when you look at Lawson. Probably not really more so his skill set than anything else. He's a guy that's kind of like in front of a lot of plays. It's kind of like where you make a lot of tackles. He just knows where to be and kind of like where to meet the running back. He's just a smart linebacker to lead Alabama on defense. Probably the guy that's probably going to be the most exciting to watch is Justin Jefferson. Just how fast he is and how explosive he is. I didn't realize this. When I went back and looked back at film, he rushed from the edge quite a bit last season for to be that small. You'll think like, you wouldn't think he'll be an edge rusher, consider probably other guys you possibly can put there. So he's a guy, I think, from that perspective, adds versatility. And like he can blitz really good. Of course, he got that speed, great angle to the football, great in space as well. So I really like what Justin Jefferson brings to the table. Like I said, I think from a exciting entertainment, fast, physical linebacker perspective, you're probably gonna like Justin Jefferson a little bit more than Hill Green and Lawson. Hill Green is your traditional thumper, probably a little bit more so Lawson than a Jefferson. He's not gonna blow you away with his speed, but he's got a high IQ based on what players and coaches are saying. So there's gonna be times where he's gonna make a lot of plays, and probably because he's gonna be in the front of those plays. He's gonna know they're coming. He's gonna be able to diagnose them really well. Probably those will be the rotation will a fourth guy fit? I kind of don't know. The biggest probably the question mark would be if one of those guys went down. Of course, you don't want a guy to go down, but you got to think about this. If you are the Alabama staff, is who's that guy behind them? And it's been different on days when to practice. Sometimes it is a Caden Jones. Sometimes it is a QB Reese. I really like Reese. He's a talented linebacker. Well, although he's small and wasn't highly recruited, I've said this when I watched him at Ramsey. He was one of the best pass coverage linebackers in that class. He just was a bit undersized. So it would be interesting to see if you add another guy in there, or maybe if Alabama get off to a 2-3 touchdown lead, who gets into that rotation to get more snaps, to get more experience? Is it a QB Reese first? Is it a Caden Jones first? So I think that's kind of like a question mark that I would have more so about the safety, not the safety linebacker position, but probably the thing that I think Alabama fans should feel confident about is those three guys are most likely gonna get the most of the reps. Nikai Hill-Green, Deontay Lawson, and Justin Jefferson.
Love it.
Oh man, that's great. Y'all fellas have anything else? Cause I have plenty more.
My last one, Justin. These the backup. I know Jam. I know Daniel. I know Richard. What about the guys that came in that transferred in? Draylon Washington and the other young man. Did these guys get any burn? Did you hear anything about these guys?
Yeah. Dre Washington is a guy who's right in that mix with the Hill, with the Young, at least Alabama's coaching staff. They at least are saying like, yo, he's in the mix. And that's kind of like why we are kind of, I guess, on our, in terms of like just on edge, in terms of like how does that running back carry distribution work during the season? Like, are we looking at a situation where Richard Young is very limited snaps, which will be quite surprising considering where we were when its last season ended? But technically, based on what we're hearing and based on what Alabama staff is saying, that could be a possibility in terms of the stuff that we are looking at. So that's kind of like the thing that I would say about that running back position is that behind Miller, between Hill, Dre Washington, and Richard Young, it's kind of an open battle to see who wants to take the number 2 spot. And Dre Washington is really interesting because he's probably a little bit more like Daniel in terms of being a power back. I'm not sure how good he can catch the football out of the backfield because I haven't really seen it as much. But he's like when he first came to Alabama, I was thinking like Richard Young, and Dre Washington is your change of pace back. Probably more so because I didn't notice immediately when he transferred, but when he got to Alabama, I realized he's a senior. He's transferring to Alabama. You don't come to Alabama as a senior thinking if there hasn't been some talk. Of course, you got to earn your playing time, earn your reps, but you don't come to Alabama without there being some type of saying like, hey, we feel really good that you can fit here or like you can get some reps here. Of course, like I said, you don't guarantee a position, but like looking at it from like the perspective of recruiting, you better tell me something. You better say like, hey, I'm getting something. Like, of course, I'm gonna want to compete, but you got to tell me there's a lane for me to compete, which like what I tell all recruits when no matter what school they're looking at, hey, I want you to go to the school that you got a lane to play. I'm not saying early, but go to a place where there is a lane for you to play. Whether you're looking at it like, hey, I probably not play freshman year, sophomore year, I probably get a couple of reps. But by junior year, there should be nobody in a better position to play than me. I should be in a position like, hey, looking at the guys behind me, I should have more experience. I should know the playbook more. I should know the system way more than them. And by junior year, then that's when you got to look at like, yo, who's coming in front of me? If it's 4 guys at the same position, I'm like, it's 4 guys. I'm playing like a numbers game. But like if it's 2 or 3 of y'all, like, hey, that's kind of like how I always tell people. If I give any recruiting advice, go to the school where there's a lane to play eventually. Like you don't have to play right away, but you want a lane to play eventually. And that, unfortunately, that comes back to bite so many kids. I've seen kids that signed with Alabama, and I'm calling names, but I've seen kids sign with Alabama who mom and dad were furious because they were kind of like thinking in my perspective, saying like, yo, him playing is kind of like, it's kind of like gonna get real tight. It's gonna be looking real shaky or like real off balance at times. And I'm not sure if he's gonna stay or leave. And it's kind of like how it operates. So it's kind of like any advice I would tell anybody. But going back to Dre Washington, I don't think he comes to Alabama without there being some type of conversation that, hey, you're gonna get to play or not. That's a disadvantage to not only Alabama, but that's a disadvantage to him as a player. And that's most importantly in that age as a young man. You don't want to get a young man here and he can't play and there's like limited opportunity for him, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because the only time I feel only time I don't feel bad about that if I'm playing college football 26.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recruit them and they haven't played from freshman all the way to senior year, and then they finally get a little burn. That's the only time I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, but
But
in the new one, they leading the portal. I
They
played
getting
one
up out of there. He
guy,
transferring. Fact.
everybody left. I'm like, hold up, man. One guy had
Yeah.
like 1,000 yards. He still left. I'm like,
Still left. Yep.
And
That's
man,
crazy,
they had a deal breakers, man.
Yeah.
That playing time gets serious and the grade change depending
Yeah.
on EGF. Oh man, it get weird. It get real wild.
I got to go back and look at his deal work because I really don't know why. Well, just to give you guys some background, I play with LSU in the dynasty now, man. I got like 3,000 yard receivers. Aaron Anderson is the third one, but he's transferring. I actually think it's kind of like Alabama related. I actually think if a guy has transferred to in real life, I think there's a higher chance that he transfers in the game. It seems to be that way because I've seen that a lot of times where like, yo, he transferred in real life. I guess they put that in his whatever in his profile or whatever. He transfers pretty quickly because Aaron Anderson is out the door. There's nothing I can do for him. So that's kind of a different development of NCAA 26.
I know. Before Jonathan get off, because I know he has to go do something, man. Just want you to shout out all the social media and all that, man.
No, so find me on the Bama Standard. Obviously, we got some big things coming there as far as that goes. Yeah, covering a lot of the recruiting side. As you guys can see here at Bama Fan Podcast, when it comes to X, Justin, it was nice meeting you. Great stuff, brother. Coach Sean, obviously, good as always. Be sharp. Obviously, thanks for the invite. Thanks for everybody in that comment section. Jason Jackson, everybody's too many. Bishop, see you're on here. Latoya, Eric D, all the love. Definitely much appreciated. Got to get on here more often now that it's kind of starting to slow down a little bit. But look, I'm just going to leave it at this moving forward. As long as we can fix the run fits from last year, now that I'm learning about run fits, by the way, into this year, I'll be happy. I'll be happy. That's all I'm asking for is looking for that stuff to improve. But yeah, no, I appreciate you guys, man.
Already, brother. And I know Justin, our good brother, Piano Man. Shout out to Piano Man. He said, how's the health of Jaden Roberts? Will he be, I think he said be ready by game one?
Yeah, I think it's a limited thing that he's kind of like dealing with, kind of like always dealing with more nagging injuries with him, which just always seem to be that with him, just unlucky with the injury bug. But I think probably just not even just considering him, but also the entire guard rotation. They could just gonna see a rotation of guys. We came in thinking that, hey, left guard probably can end up in a rotation where it's Gino Vandermark and Cam Dewberry, but it seemed like both guards. Where we might see Dewberry at right guard and Vandermark at left guard. We may see Jaden at right guard and Vandermark at left guard, or Cam Dewberry in a combination of Jaden Roberts. So it's just gonna. I feel like that rotation is gonna be always just continuing to rotate as Alabama's coaching staff sees fit. But yeah, it seems like he's gonna be ready. But probably the biggest thing that in terms of his health is that probably it's turned into like a sprint for Alabama because they were trying to compete at that left guard position with Gino and Jaden. But now you can look up, okay, if Jaden is a little bit behind, we've been Gino and Cam been fighting. We can plug either one of them at probably one of those guards, and they should be good.
Yeah,
I know one because I really wanted Coach Sean to ask this question because I know this is his guy and he's up there where he's at. But one recruit, Emmanuel Ruffin.
Yeah, Ruffin. Yeah.
I know he hasn't committed yet, and I know it's going to be a long shot for us to get him. But just tell us about Emmanuel Ruffin and how do you think he will fit for Alabama? Because I believe, based on what Coach Sean was saying, like this kid is one of those ones that we haven't had nasty down in them trenches for a long time, and he's one of those ones, and pretty much it's not getting the looks in recruiting wise. So don't pay attention to the stars, but he is one of those ones. I just want to know how you feel about him.
I mean, he's good. Like, so I think he has potential to be really good. I think a lot of people are a little, and not just fans, and not just recruiting services, probably a little bit more coaches too. I think they are a little bit hesitant on him. I know he reported an Alabama official offer, which technically usually means you are a take at the particular program. So I do think Alabama program that's going to be worth watching as his recruitment progress, because I think a lot of coaches and most likely including Alabama, they are going to want to see what Ruffin does this senior year, and they want to see his film. But based on what we've been able to see in the flashes, active hands, he's a guy who's big. He has an opportunity to, I think, fit great into Alabama's system, a lot of people's system. But I think just it seems to be like a lot of coaches are a little bit hesitant as they continue to evaluate him because he has offers. He has LSU, he has Ohio State. Those programs, I think it was down to LSU and Ohio State at one time, but I don't think that's his top two. I think his recruitment kind of reset it, which is kind of like what happens. I think he's going to be a guy, which even though I think it could be a situation where we're looking at him as just like this different type of recruitment moving forward, where he might come out with a top 5, and it's just this whole different amount of teams. So I think his recruitment is just one to watch because I think it's going to be a little bit of a slow burn, probably over the next couple of months. And I think Alabama could be right in that mix simply because I think he's a talented guy, has potential, but maybe some of the guys on Alabama's recruiting board that was up in front of him, they're committed. They're going elsewhere, like a Tank, like a Elijah Golden. They're off the board now. So you have to basically go down your board, and that's part of recruiting. So I think that could be a situation for Ruffin in Alabama. You look at their recruiting board, and he's steadily rising. So I think he's a guy. I wouldn't describe it as a long shot. In my mind, I don't think it's that much of a long shot. I think it's something that's potentially could happen, but right now, which I know in recruiting, which kind of like why I can take the gas off of it a little bit in terms of covering it. This is kind of like when it slows down. It typically slows like all the way down from like August to October. You kind of hear whispers of stuff. The biggest thing with us following recruiting, you kind of want to see who visits if somewhere, because that's kind of like the telling thing. Nobody has gotten a flip with no visit. If you ain't visit them during the season, most likely not gonna flip them. So that's probably like kind of like where recruiting is now. We're kind of like looking like, yo, where are you going? Where are you visiting? Are you visiting anywhere else? So that's kind of like why you're going to see a lot of reports. If you're following recruiting, it's going to be, yo, this guy visiting this place. Or it's going to be some guys saying like, oh, I shut down my recruitment. I'm not visiting anyone else. Because reporters, our job right now, if you are strictly in recruiting space, you're asking like, hey, where are you going? Are you going anywhere else? And if you are an Alabama commit and you're visiting Georgia, okay, that's interesting. That's something we got to keep a note of. If you're a Georgia commit and you're visiting Alabama, okay, that's interesting. Let's keep a note of that. So that's kind of like really like where recruiting is.
Thanks.
I know one of the things, because I know I only had like a couple more questions for you, but I may have 3. But but I know this is dealing with recruiting a little bit. What's one player that you think everybody should keep their eye on that nobody's really watching? And that's the first one. And the second one, I would say a player that is just going under the radar, but it's going to turn out to be like a diamond in the rough.
Let me see. Diamond in the rough type of player who I like. It's kind of diamond in the rough.
But that London kid.
I feel like Alabama just like, I feel like a lot of these guys have so much like expectations on them. So that's kind of like really like the hard thing, because I feel like everybody gets talked about. Who's like, because the Alabama fan base is so wide and they're so knowledgeable. I always say Alabama fan base most knowledgeable fan base ever in terms of like them knowing so many people on the team, but under the radar in terms of like let me ask you this question in terms of like this season, like they can make a play this season. Because it goes back to what I said. Like this continuity on this team is so familiar. I feel like most fans are familiar with like all of the like playmakers or guys who could be potential playmakers. But probably the guy I think, and they talked about him in the scrimmage, DeBoer. And he was really good last season, and apparently he's going to still be a factor. I'm interested in seeing what Cole Adams does at receiver. I think he's interesting, but probably more so in the fact that, hey, he's going to get an opportunity in the return game. I'll probably add 2 in that because I kind of want to see what Jalen Mbakwe does as a more so as a returner, probably, because I think if he probably, I'm not sure, maybe he gets snaps at receiver, but maybe not. But if he doesn't, just put him at returner and let him get some returns and let him burn that energy and that speed that he has. So probably in terms of under the radar guys would probably be them. I see your guys like comments here, and that's kind of like a guy I kind of put into that conversation. Deshaun Jones. I think he doesn't get talked about a lot in that secondary. In terms of him probably gonna start at Husky. So I think he doesn't get talked about a lot. I think he fits that mold. And I talked to him at that media day. And I didn't know this, so of course we interviewed him. He said he loves that position. This position is like one of his favorite he ever played. And I kind of compare it to that Wolf position because you can do so much at Husky. It's so versatile and such. It's a true definition of a hybrid defensive back because you can defend this. You can defend the slot.
I tell them that same thing, Justin. You can't play there unless you're gonna tackle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like I said, you got to be able to tackle with something like this. One of my biggest like talking points of football. I think a lot of people don't put enough emphasis on tackling, getting a man down on the football field. That's not against his will. That's something that's like something. It's so small and it's part of every play. But that's a skill. That's a skill to be able to get somebody down on the ground. It is a skill that's often overlooked. He's not with Alabama no more, but Caleb Downs probably is one of the best tacklers I've ever seen. I was like, this guy one of the biggest things, he don't need no help. He gonna get him down the ground. Like he don't need any help. He's gonna get him down the ground. Probably the best tacklers in terms of getting a guy on the ground that I've seen and evaluated. Alabama got some guys who can do that on their team now. I think Hubbard flashed there at times, but so being able to tackle a guy is so big, and like you said, at that position, you got the dog. You gotta be ready to play. You gotta be ready to make an impact. That's kind of like the thing. You gotta be ready at every play, no matter what you're doing. No matter if you're covering this explosive slot wide receiver. Heck, you might blitz. I might got to get out the quarterback. I might got to blitz on the edge. So I might got to drop back in the flat. I might got to cover this guy all the way down the field. There's so many different ways you got to be used. And so I think it's an interesting position. I've said this on multiple times. I think Jaru Edwards, he's just like a perfect fit for it. I think the position I think he, maybe it's so many other things, but I think if I'm recruiting him, I turn on Devontae Smith's Husky highlights. And I'll be like, this I want to use you. And you already getting used. He plays Husky at St. Francis Academy. And just the position that he plays, I'm like, you already playing the position, so you might as well come here and play. So I think Edwards is a guy who fits that mold. But like I said, that Husky position is an interesting position. But Deshaun Jones in that conversation as well.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brinson. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
The kid whose film I watched that I was really intrigued by. Wasn't really highly recruited, but he had some really good film, man. This kid was active. I hadn't heard anything about him, but have you heard anything about London Simmons, the defensive tackle?
Yeah, I think he's growing. I think that's the biggest thing. He just that's the biggest thing when you coming in to Alabama. And I think he's coming into a loaded defensive line room, so he's probably not going to get much burn at all this season. But I just know him more so as a recruit, probably more so at Alabama, because you're just not going to hear much about him. I think in a perfect world, you kind of want him to fit that same type of development path that Tim Keenan has been on, because they're kind of similar in size. Maybe London is a little bit smaller coming in compared to where like Tim was. So Tim had to make this body transformation when he got to Tuscaloosa. So I think that's probably more so. Yeah, he's just a young guy, probably just trying to figure out so much. I just don't expect him to get much burn. But the guy probably a lot of that's kind of like so impressive is I probably pronounced his name wrong. Steve Imbo Moore, the JUCO transfer. That kid is huge. He's crazy.
It looked like a 4-year starter, man.
Yeah, he looks the part. He's just trying to get everything together, but he's strong as heck. He's strong, he's really probably one of the strongest people on the team. That's kind of like, and that's coming from Quay Russaw. Russaw called him one of the strongest people on the team. And I think if Russaw is saying that about him, I think that speaks volumes. And I remember at one practice, they were pushing the sled. It actually was doing a drill where James Smith knocks over the sled. Stephen Balmore went up, and he did feel okay, but like the players were like, "Come on, man, you way stronger than that. Show him you way strong." So basically, they know, like, this guy is probably one of the strongest guys on the team. So I've been really impressed with him in terms of I'm not sure how impactful he'll be this year, but maybe next year if you continue to develop him.
I know this because I know these my last two, man. They just fun questions. Because I don't think I asked you this last time. I don't think, but just in case if I didn't, the first one is your Mount Rushmore of Nick Saban players. Your personal one. It doesn't matter. It's your personal Mount Rushmore, Nick Saban players.
Yeah, I think you you asked it some form, but I don't think you asked it like in that particular form. But I think it's a very good question. I put Minka Fitzpatrick up there because I like Minka for so many different reasons. So he was able to do so much. I think he was planning. I thought he was rushing from the edge at times. I was like, yo, where the heck is this guy at? He everywhere. Like he literally lined up everywhere. So impactful all over the football field. So Minka Fitzpatrick is up there. I put Amari Cooper up there more so for personal reasons because he was a wide receiver when I was a wide receiver in high school. So, when you're high school in football, you're always looking up to somebody who is playing. So that's kind of like more so the reason why I put Cooper in there. And what he did that season was crazy. That last season he was at Alabama. I think a lot of people said it. Throwing the ball to Cooper that season was almost like handing it off to the running back. That's how automatic him and Blake Sims' connection was. So I thought that was really kind of like magical to see. Put Derrick Henry in there because Henry was a guy who I saw play a lot while he was at Alabama because I was a student at that time. So he was really, really good to watch, especially at high school season. That was impressive. Such a different type of running back, like you said, creating a lab type of running back you think you'll never see play. You just kind of create him on the game and just play with him there. You never think you'll see a guy like him. So I kind of would put Derrick Henry in that conversation. Trying to see if there's who else deserves that last spot.
It's a lot of guys, man.
Yeah. Y'all, if you're doing this, you definitely got to leave some guys off. They're just part of it. Dang, who I would put?
What about the Ring King himself, AJ McCarron?
That
boy got three of them things, Justin.
I like
three of them.
AJ a lot. I like the AJ. I think AJ. I think there's a reason why he stayed in the NFL at least as long as he did, even as a backup. I think he was a pretty solid quarterback, and I think in the right situation he could have had a decent NFL career, but probably needed more so the right situation. I don't think he never really got that opportunity. So I like AJ. I think I'm probably not going to go with a quarterback, although like some of them have had some magic. Tua probably was the most impressive, crazy. That I remember that year was insane. That year where Alabama, I remember Nick, I was a student at the time. Nick Saban used to send out basically a message to the student body, don't leave at halftime. But it's 35-0. At in the second quarter, I'm getting up out of it. So it's kind of like that thing when I think of Tua, just how explosive that offense was. It was insane doing that stretch where they play half of the game. But dang, so many ways. I think I'm gonna put a guy more so up front, and I think this is a good list. I'm gonna choose from that list. Jonathan Allen is a guy. I'll put in there because I like that. I actually had I was sitting right in the section right behind when he did the Superman sack. So it was insane to see it from that angle. He was actually jumping towards the crowd. So that was crazy to see. But that whole defense, being able to watching Alabama games on that time, you were lucky to get 3 yards per carry. I'm literally that was it. You literally can stop at the line of scrimmage. So all of those guys and including Jonathan Allen really made that Alabama defense insane. And I think so many fans would love for it to get back to it. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it can be, simply not because Alabama is not going to get those type of guys. It's just that was crazy. That was a time in space where whoa, this. I honestly, I think people watching it, maybe we weren't aware of what we were seeing and probably took it for granted what we were seeing every Saturday.
Go back and watch that USC game and look at how them boys played, man. Them dudes was different.
Yeah.
I asked now it's 2 more, but one of them I'm gonna keep it Alabama, then the next one just gonna be strictly college football. But for this one, your top 5 favorite Alabama seasons. Of course, a lot of them gonna be during our time. The whole Nick Saban, because I promise you, it's no Shula time that I love more. I love DJ Hall, but it's not a year I can be that's point out the year. Because I know one of my favorite years is the 2015 year. But before we hit on that, before we get up out of here, I know Coach Sean, got to get up out of here, man. So just shout out your channel, Coach Sean, and definitely appreciate you coming.
Yes, sir,
through,
man. Yes, sir. Got to go help the little lady with this ridiculous, crazy math that they do these days. And I don't understand why they make the damn problem so long. I just don't understand that. But first, let me say big thank you to Justin, man. Anytime you spare your valuable time, bro, to come on with us, man, it's greatly appreciated, more than you know. You know what I'm saying? We really thank everybody in the chat. We really thank Justin. Shout out to all our Wu-Tang Clan, man, who always support us, bro. You can definitely find me at JMHO Sports Talk. It's just my humble opinion. That's all it is, man. I like to talk to the real insiders, like Justin. No insider here. I can't tell you nothing, but I can talk to you on that whiteboard, though. That's about all I can do. Thank you, Justin. We appreciate you, man. I hate that dip out early, but my daughter's standing here looking at me like she's gonna give me a right hook. You know what I mean? Yeah. I gotta go help her. Brinsky, thank you, my brother. I love you to death. Always with you. And much love to everybody in the chat. Roll Tide to all of you, man.
Roll Tide, brother. But I ain't gonna even say top 5, man. What is your favorite season? Because I know 2015 was definitely, I think it's a tie. Well, probably like a 3-way tie. I love the 2009 season, was just a special year for me. Of course, that was a freshman year of college, and then I had a couple of partners go at Alabama during that time, so they got to experience 3 national championships. That was a time. Trust me. I appreciate the free tickets too. Shout out to the boys. 2009, 2015, and 2020 for me. But what is your number one favorite season?
I think probably the season that's probably the most memorable one, and I typically probably don't even remember like the number year, but it was the year where they played Georgia in the ACC championship game, and basically can't. I want to say Murray was the quarterback for Georgia. Was it that same year they blew out Notre Dame?
2012 or 2012.
Yeah, basically, but basically, probably the more impactful games for me in terms of just Alabama football that I watched was probably that game that they played against Georgia when I think, well, I might be wrong. I think I'm pretty sure I'm right. Eddie Lacy and TJ Yeldon was the running backs when they went back and forth that game. It was like a pounding game. It was like straight run game, like boom, boom, boom. They kept running. Georgia kept coming back. Alabama keeps coming back. Boom, boom, boom. It's probably the probably not really my favorite season in terms of probably what happened. And probably that game is one of my favorite just Alabama games simply because of just how that, because in my mind is just watching football. I always feel like, yo, football is just like the perfect personification of life in terms of like, yo, you gonna get sacked in life. You're gonna come back. Yo, sometimes it's gonna be 3rd and 20. It's gonna be down in distance, and it's gonna be battles. It's gonna be, yo, you're gonna be down 21-0 in the 3rd quarter in times. And that game kind of like to me was more so that, like really like saying like, yo, really more like I kind of like put in that more of, I guess more like motivation type of game, like it's kind of like where I saw it, because Georgia kept fighting, boom, boom, Alabama keeps fighting back, boom, boom. It's like one of those games, like dang, what's gonna happen? It's probably more so the way that Alabama did it with the running game, with the how Eddie Lacy was, with how physical he was, with how physical of a football game that was. So probably was more impactful than me, just that game, because I feel like that game just had a deeper meaning to me. But it's so many different just like seasons at Alabama that probably you can point at for sure.
Yeah, but I remember especially Coop scoring that game-winning touchdown, and whoever won that game was definitely going to win national championship. I believe they was going to beat Notre Dame. But the final question, man, to get us out of here, man, we asked a lot of Alabama stuff and definitely appreciate it. But I need to know, man, this is another exclusive. What is your Mount Rushmore for college football players ever? Your personal one. Your personal one. It don't matter who's bad. This is your personal one.
I think they're gonna kick me out of covering Alabama football if I say my number one favorite college football player of all time. I think I may not be able to cover Alabama anymore. I'm gonna say him for last. To be honest, he's my number one. I kind of like grown into him being my number one. I'll probably save him for last. So, but my Mount Rushmore in terms of college football players, I put Devontae Smith in there because he's somebody I seen play, and he's one of put together one of the greatest seasons in college football history, and I was able to see some of it. So I think that means something. So I put Devontae Smith up there in that Mount Rushmore. Trying to see who else I'll put in there because that's kind of a big statement to make. I put Reggie Bush in there because Bush was when I first started watching football. Actually, the first college football game I ever watched was Texas versus USC in the in the national championship. That's the first college football game I remember in my life. And I didn't know much about football as a young kid, being that young, but everybody was talking about Reggie Bush. And Reggie Bush was in every conversation. And I've watched the highlights now, and I've seen what he do. I put Reggie Bush in there based on just the aura that he created and just what he was as a collegiate athlete. So I'll put Reggie Bush, Devontae Smith. I'm trying to see who else I'll put in there before I get to my last guy.
I think I know who the last one is.
I'm gonna put guys who like I said, there's a lot of guys you can put in there for sure.
Show person.
Dang, who will be that third spot? Yeah. I think I put Adrian Peterson in there. I throw Adrian Peterson in there. Because that's the type of back, physical, everything you want to say type of running back. Had everything. I didn't really want to go a lot of Alabama. But the last guy, the guy who and maybe it was more so me at that time, really like watching football and kind of like seeing, I thought kind of like in that Derrick Henry space, this guy was creating a lab. I heard about him a little bit early in the season. I was like, yo, that guy can't be that good. Y'all don't got a quarterback that good. I saw him play. He truck a linebacker in the end zone. I was like, what is this guy? But Cam Newton is my number. Cam Newton is at the top of like what he was like, simply what he was able to do that season, and what is remarkable. The roster that he had, the way he played, he literally willed that team in every way you can imagine. If there was ever a time you could say one guy won a national championship, it probably is him. And I know, like I said, I know it's probably Alabama fans are gonna hate that, and that's something because I, of course, if you guys don't know this, of course, I'm not an Alabama fan anymore because I covered the team and everything like that. But I grew up in Alabama, of course, being an Alabama fan, and that game almost brought tears to my eyes to watch Cam come back against Alabama.
Don't get me started.
As I continue to grow up and looking back at that season, and looking back at what he was able to do at Auburn, that was amazing as a one-man basically team at times on that offensive side of the football. And he was a special type of quarterback, just a special season. But more so Cam Newton, not really Auburn, really, I guess you can say. But just really, I say Alabama fans focus on it was Cam Newton. But I guess that doesn't matter to Alabama fans. But yeah, so I probably put Cam Newton at number one.
Yeah, my brother. Hey, man. First off, appreciate you even coming on the show. It's good to know you, man. Just seeing your growth, and you just keep growing, man. Like I said, man, congratulations. You being on the Paul Feinbaum show. That's what I said, man. The star is only going to keep growing, man. You the man. I love everything that you guys doing over there at TDA. I'm praying that you guys keep doing great things, man. And it's just good to have somebody on here from you and Clint to give you a real insight of the team, man. I just want to make sure you got your flowers, man, and know that you're one of the best out here. You may not accept it, but you are definitely one of the best out here, not in just the Alabama space, but in this college football space, because you have great knowledge of this game, my brother. So I definitely want to shout you out on that.
Well, thank you so much, man. And I'm always a joy to be on. Looking forward to the next time for sure.
Oh, yeah, man. So you can just let the people know, man, and we'll get up out of here.
Yeah, for sure. Twitter, X, JD Smith, 31 Smith, Justin Smith. If you search TDA probably on any platform, Touchdown Alabama on any platform, probably can find some of my content, whether that's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. And for sure, thank you so much, man, for having me on again.
Oh, yeah, man. And definitely we're going to find some time during the season where we can catch you up on here. But appreciate everybody in the chat, man, for all y'all support, just even taking y'all time out to even come over here. Just make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button. And y'all already know, Roll Damn Tide.